Hey, what's going on, everybody? We are now officially live. It is week 7 of the Anti-NFL show. Make sure when y'all come into the room to hit that like button. I actually was on the page and I was looking at some of the conversations that people were having before this thing even got started. So shout out to Black Rage, H. Bledsoe, Nikum Ya Ben Yisrael, Bon Kasim Baker. What's going on, Action? I'm actually looking at my phone, at the chat through my phone while talking through my laptop. That way I don't have to do a whole bunch of back and forth kind of stuff. What's going on, Terry? Tim Drake? This has been a very interesting week. A lot of stuff happened this week. That's why I couldn't cover everything in a video, because between like a lot of stuff happening and me having to work, there's no way I could have covered everything. That's why I like having these live stream shows on Sundays when I'm available, of course, because there may be a couple of Sundays when I'm not available, and that way I can talk about whatever needs to be talked about, whether I've talked about it already or if I haven't talked about it at all. What's going on? Try three. The reason why I don't have it on is because I do not have the monetization feature. If you're talking about if you're talking about the super chat thing, that has to, like, once, like, if YouTube ever sends it back to me, then I can turn the super chat thing on. But that's why I don't have it. Otherwise, it will be on. What's going on, Sean from the Shy? Anthony Bates, Marlene. You didn't miss anything, Marlene. I just got started. Exactly like Black Ray said, hit the PayPal. That's what I've been using between that and the Patreon. Those are the two things that I've been using since I don't have the super chat feature at the moment. Like, and the thing is, I meet the qualifications to have my monetization turned on, but I don't know if it's because my content is considered to be quote unquote controversial, but that was what I was using up until my channel had got terminated, like, was it last year? But then they started changing the rules and stuff like that, and the qualifications and how you can get the monetization and whatnot. It's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's a lot of politicking involved. Right, Cats. The super chat does take 30% of your money. So you're really left with 70% of whatever you were donated, whatever was donated to you. Patreon takes a little bit out too, but they don't take out 30%. That's for damn sure. I don't know how much they take out, but it's a little bit. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think they take out like maybe 5%, maybe 10 at the most. I don't have a Cash App, Terry. If y'all follow me on on Twitter, y'all know that I had tweeted saying how this particular live stream is going to be a doozy. And I mean just that because, like I said, so much stuff happened this week. And a lot of people wanted me to express my opinion on quite a few things that I was going to talk about anyway. But I wasn't able to put it into a pre-recorded video style because, like I said, my schedule was so hectic this week. So I couldn't talk about every single thing. But don't think I didn't hear about it. Trust me, I knew. Just because I didn't talk about it yet doesn't mean I didn't know. That's one good thing about the internet. Can you imagine if all of the stuff that's happening right now happened maybe 20 years ago? We would barely hear about most of the stuff because at that time the internet was just really getting mainstream as far as where it is now. Well, compared to where it is now, I should say. My inner ocean is going to be a multitude of topics. Whenever I do these live streams, the Sunday ones anyway, it's a multitude of topics. It's not just one topic. Now, if I happen to do a live stream in the middle of the week or something like that, or any other day, it's probably going to be on one topic in particular. But I haven't done a single topic live stream in so long. Appreciate it, Try 3. What's going on, Craig? That's another reason why I'm glad I have my community tab on now because I ask people for topics that they want me to discuss. A lot of the topics that y'all leave, I may have talked about it already on my live, not my live stream, in a pre-recorded video, but I'll talk about it again to elaborate more because maybe more stuff has come out since then, or maybe something I have not talked about yet, which is actually quite a few topics because, like I said, I've been busy, and some of the topics y'all leave, I was going to talk about anyway. Actually, when I was looking back through the comments, a few of them y'all left I already either talked about or I was going to mention anyway. What's going on, Joe? D. Tristan, he said I've been looking for you on Twitter, still can't find you. My Twitter name is the same name as my name on here without the reloaded. If you type Saran Rain into the search bar, my name should pop up. Yeah, that caught a lot of people by surprise, those comments that she left. Some people said they weren't surprised though, but a lot of people were. Yeah, we're going to talk Bomb. We're going to talk about all of that. Like I said, a lot of stuff that happened this week, we're going to talk about. That's why I left on Twitter. I said this live stream was going to be a doozy. Too much stuff happened in just this 1 week. And a lot of the stuff happened toward the end of the week, like between the days of like Thursday and Saturday. A lot of stuff happened in the last 3 days. What's going on, Leonard? But besides all of that, my week was pretty it was a pretty good standard week. I'm probably going to even talk about some stuff that y'all didn't even hear about. Like it was one story I'm going to talk about that I found out on somebody else's channel that I'm surprised no one sent to me. And I said, you know what? I could make this into a pre-recorded video, but I'm going to wait into the live stream and talk about it because I know some people are going to be opinionated about it on a multitude of occasions. Oh, and by the way, how many of y'all are enjoying I would say the extremely edited videos? I know that there's been an issue with the mic and some people saying that it's too low and everything like that, but I think I figured out what the issue was. I think it was something on my mic that was turned down. It wasn't the volume, but it's something on the mic called gain. And if the gain is real low, it'll drown out my voice to the point where it sounds low. So what I had to do was had to turn the gain notch all the way up to its highest capacity, and now it sounds loud. And I'm gonna test that out because there was a video that I did today on one of my extremely edited videos, and the sound came out louder than it did before. Crew noted I didn't get it. Cats, I already knew people was going to come into this live stream. Every time I do this live stream, it's always someone coming in here saying, or some kind of ad popping up talking about the NFL, or I'm about to watch the NFL. And the only reason they're saying that is because it has the letters NFL in the title. So it draws them in. And I'm like, if the thing says anti-NFL show, why the fuck would you come into the live stream telling us that you're about to go watch the game? If you're going to go watch the game, go watch it. You didn't have to announce it. I hate when people announce they are going to do dumb shit. Like when people say they're going to announce that they're going to block me or they're going to unfollow me or unsubscribe, just do it. Don't announce it. I don't care. I have over 14,000, damn near 15,000 subscribers. You think I give a damn about one person that says they are going to unfollow and unsubscribe? Because when one leaves, another 100 will replace you and you will be easily forgotten. And you probably didn't contribute anything to the channel of substance. All right, crew, I got it. It came through. Appreciate it. And there was somebody else who had left a comment yesterday. I thought it was so funny. It's not a troll comment. They were saying off topic, but they said your voice is so soothing, like it can put somebody to sleep. I said you were like the second person to tell me that. Somebody else who was a YouTuber who I follow on here, and they're familiar with me and I'm familiar with them. They said the same exact thing. And when they said it, I thought they were just joking. But now that I have someone else who said the same thing, I'm like, wow, my voice is actually creating lullabies out here. Like I'm actually putting people to sleep with just the sound of my voice. But I've always heard people tell me that I had a voice for radio. I've heard that a few times throughout my life, especially when my voice entered the last phase of where it wasn't going to change anymore. Hey, what's going on, Gigi? Yeah, Johnson, I still have my Black Junction account. The last video I put up there was the one that got blocked on here because I guess it was the thumbnail or it was something else, or maybe it was the subject matter or whatever. But I uploaded that maybe last week, I believe it was. Thank you, Inner Ocean. Oh God, Linda said I go to sleep in your old video. That's crazy. Cause I never saw it that way. You know, when you hear your own voice a lot, you're not gonna be a fan of your own voice. Like I never heard people say, I like my voice. That's one thing I never heard people say. I've never even heard this person that has the biggest ego in the world, or maybe the self-absorbed person, even say that they feel like they have the best talking voice in the world. Especially when you hear other people's voices who have been known to be or have great voices throughout history, like James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman, or the guy who does the Allstate commercials, Dennis Haysbert, and a few others. Sonya said, "Read us a story." Once upon a time. I'm sorry. I keep calling it Ocean. I'm sorry, Oshun. Well, I feel like the stories that I bring to y'all often are like considered stories. I guess you can say that in a way. I wouldn't say that it's a bedtime story or nothing like that, but if it's putting you to sleep, good night then. Oh, you said you love the voice I do when I do the cue the violins videos. That's when I have to switch it up. I gotta turn on the fake British UK accent or try to sound all high and sedity and whatnot. Like I'm holding a cup of tea in my hand with the pinky out, and I'm asking for sugar cubes and not the sugar that you just dump into the cup. Well, welcome to the channel, Butter Pecan. All right, y'all. I think the intro part of this is done. So let me just go ahead and get into these topics. The first one I wanted to talk about, and this was a video that I didn't do. This was a topic I didn't do a video on, but I know many people probably saw it. The first time I saw it was actually on Lovely T's channel, and then Angry Man had did a show on his channel last week talking about it. And this is about this woman who left this little boy on a doorstep. How many of y'all saw that video? When I saw that, I was like, what the hell is she doing? And I said, I hope she's not the child's mother, because if she is, CPS needs to be called on her as soon as possible and not a second later. So basically, she went, like, there was like a little surveillance camera in the door, and she left and she went and like dragged the boy. If you saw the video, she dragged the boy. Like, she was grabbing him by his hand and like dragging him, and brought him up to the doorstep, and then was ringing the doorbell and knocking on the door. And instead of waiting for someone to come and open the door, she runs. Like, she took off like Speedy Gonzalez. Like, after a while, you couldn't even see her no more. She kicked up all that dust in them heels, and she was out of there and left the boy right there on the doorstep. Mind you, it's cold outside. So that boy's out there probably freezing, and he doesn't have a jacket on. He doesn't have any pants on. He's just out there with a t-shirt and some shorts. He's out there dressed like it's the summertime. And then you left him out there in the dark by himself. Anybody could have came and snatched him, or he could have ran out to the street and got hit by a car. Because he's so short, no one would see him. Even if they had their lights on, and if they had their lights on, it probably would have been too late, and they probably would have hit him. And that was the so-called friend. Now it goes a little bit deeper, because it says that and I'm trying to get this right, that the mother of the child has a restraining order against the stepmother, which she is with the child's father. If I got that correctly. You know, this thing is like, it's so confusing. It's like a spider's web. So apparently the mother and the stepmother have an issue with each other. And the friend who left the boy on the doorstep is the friend to the stepmother. So because of the restraining order, the stepmother could not bring the child to the house, because, you know, restraining order, she can't be within a few distance of the person who has the restraining order. Now, when they interviewed the father, they said he was a neighbor or something like that. But where, like, I'm trying to figure out, was he home? It's like no good people in this whole thing. The only innocent person in this whole thing was the child. And when right, but when she was doing them interviews, she sounded so ignorant. She actually tried her best to shift herself away from taking the blame for what she did. Like, when the lady was interviewing her, asking her questions, she up there trying to catch an attitude. My thing is, why did she run? Like, what was she in a hurry to get to? What did she have to do that was so important that she could not wait for someone to open the door and get that child? Oh, she said she took the child to the wrong house. Well, that's even worse. Because who knows who was behind that door? Catch, you know, because me and you were on that we're on that show when that topic was being discussed a couple days ago. Okay, so you said it was the next door neighbor. Wow. Yeah, this chick is like not right in the head, and and to my knowledge, she's only 20. She's 20. Just young and dumb, more so dumb than anything. Like, did she not know where which house she was supposed to go to? Like, why would she go to someone else's house? Like someone she doesn't even know. Yeah, like as soon as like if you look at the video and the surveillance footage when she ran, she took off so fast. The little boy was still looking at the door, and when he turned around, that chick was gone. What's up, King Hebrew? With the way she was, with the way she was dressed, she was about to go out and live her best life. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's just wow. And I said the worst thing is that she didn't even try to accept accountability for the part she played in it when she was being interviewed. Like she literally tried to shift blame. But the thing is, like, who was she trying to shift blame to? She was the only people that were there were her and the kid, and she had to be in a hurry to get somewhere because the way she dragged them up to that house, like she was in a hurry to get somewhere, apparently to her, which was very important. Right, Cass? They only showed the mother in that small clip where I guess she was going into a police department or some kind of building, but they didn't really show her face. You kind of saw her from behind, and that was it. They didn't talk to the mother. They only talked to her and the father. They didn't talk to the mother or the stepmother, but they did say that the boy is now back in the care of the mother. And like I said, this is one big mess. I feel for the child. The child is in a very bad spot, a very bad spot. Okay, someone said the mother was sick or something, and she asked a friend to babysit. Now I'm seeing something that they saying that the mother was in the hospital or something like that. But either way, like it's a fucked up situation all the way around, and like that's how the damn system gets involved with your kids with shit like this. Because then they're gonna say, well, we need to look out for the well-being of the child. So who knows what else is gonna come for that? What's going on, Leo? Kabir, because common sense apparently is so uncommon nowadays. And who knows what the mother and that friend talk about as it pertains to the father and the stepmother. They probably talk a lot of shit about the both of them. Yeah, Heather, I'm gonna talk about that, but that's gonna be a little bit later. I'm saving that for a little bit. I'm getting the more earlier, lighter topics out of the way before I get into the heavy stuff. We're gonna talk about it a little bit later, Gigi. A lot of people want me to talk about that, and I do have a strong stance, a strong opinion about that. All right, we're gonna go on to the next topic, and this is a topic that I did talk about. So, Kendall Jenner. I know y'all like, oh my God, why are we talking about them? Well, many of y'all already saw the video that I did about her in Vogue. And that so-called afro, and I call it so-called because that damn sure ain't an afro. That, excuse me, that was not on her head. I mean, that was on her head. So Vogue magazine put Kendall Jenner in their magazine. I don't know if it was the cover or not. Honestly, I don't give a damn. And said that that was an afro. Now, anybody with two eyes and good vision and who's black could clearly see that that is not a goddamn afro. It's not. I said it looks like a bird's nest. I had some people in the comments say it looks like a rat's nest. Someone said it looked like bed hair. You know how when you wake up in the morning your hair is all over the place? They said it looked like that too. Now, I remember I also mentioned in the video that's the second time that Kendall Jenner has managed to catch herself into some kind of an ad campaign or advertisement period where she is being put into the forefront of social issues. Remember when she did that Pepsi ad last year and was saying how Pepsi could end violence or it can unite the people? It was an All Lives Matter campaign. That's basically what it was. Man, black people went in on that shit and went in on Pepsi, and Pepsi ripped that ad. You probably only saw that ad one time. You'll probably be lucky if you'll see it online. When I saw that, I said, are they fucking kidding me? I said, since when does a soft drink, a soda, or depending on where you live, pop, unite a group of people? When? And to Vogue, was it? I'm guessing, I don't know who's working in your marketing department or whatever, or your scout department, but was it so hard for you to go find a black woman with a fro? Hell, she could do a wig on her, a afro wig, and put her on the cover or in your ad. Now, with a fro, I'm guessing that would have been too hard for them to do. Someone had also said she looked like Elizabeth Taylor, and I said, you know what she does? If y'all seen pictures of Elizabeth Taylor back in the day, it looked exactly like that, like the same kind of wig and everything. That's what it looked like, because that was not no damn afro. What's going on, BGS? You're right, GG. It most likely is to push something, push the narrative that that people who are non-black, for the most part, like anything but black or don't have any black in them, can also have an afro. But that was not an afro. That was something completely different. Don't try to insult our intelligence. Don't do it. But what made me so mad is when, if y'all listen to the video, and I ranted a little bit towards like the middle and the end of the video, was the amount of people who caped for that. I don't have to say who caped for it. Y'all already know because y'all watched the video for the most part. DJ said they are positioning her as a non-black icon. Probably. Probably. They do it to a lot of people, especially that family. None of them have ever claimed to be black. A lot of people try to say that the one that probably could was Khloe Kardashian because in some circles they believe that's O.J. Simpson's daughter with Kris Jenner. Because if you look at pictures of of them when they were kids, Chloe was the only one that had like a dark blonde curly hair, while Courtney and Kim had like dark straight hair. So what you're looking at when you're looking at like Khloe Kardashian, when when she had her like the straight dark hair, that wasn't her natural hair color. I don't get the fascination either, Ashton. They were hot at a like for a small minute, like way back, like when. But now many people are over them, but the mainstream media keeps pushing them out there and keeping them out there. I remember that Craig when she said her sister got cornrows and it said mimic Bo Derek. So you mean to tell me you got cornrows in your damn head? And I know which one you talk about. You're talking about that Kylie Jenner got cornrows in the head and then said you were no, that was Kim. Got cornrows in your head and said you were mimicking Bo Derek. Well, where the hell did Bo Derek get hers from? And he had people cake for that too. Like, I don't know what it is. That's why I said the Kardashians. I think someone else said it. The Kardashians are a coven. They are they are witches, and Kris Jenner is the head witch. For those of you who watch the show American Horror Story, Kris Jenner would be the supreme. Right, because it was angry men that said they were a coven. Don't get me started on Bruce Lynn Jenner. Now that's a whole nother basket case in and of itself. You're right, August. Kris Jenner, as much as I don't like her or her family, I gotta give it to her. That woman is a pimp. Like, she pimped her daughters out hard. She is like a mastermind, a true manipulative genius. To be honest, to hold on, to Hootie, I'm probably pronouncing your name incorrectly. You said they're not witches. We just live in a generation of simps. Well, they must be simping from both sides. Because guess what? We have a lot of black men that can't stop sleeping with them, and we have a lot of black women that can't stop worshiping them on a physical level. Let's not forget that when Kylie Jenner came out with that damn lip, whatever it is, a lot of black women purchased her product. Or when she did that Kylie Lip Jenner challenge, you had little black girls putting their lips into water bottles and pulling it out and looking like a damn fool. They actually looked like a caricature. When I saw that, my mouth hit the floor and my tongue rolled out, just like how they do in them old cartoons. I said, if y'all looked at pictures of Kylie Jenner maybe 10 years ago, she looks like a completely different person now. And you still have people saying, "Oh, she looks good now." But I'm like, y'all some of the same people that say y'all don't like fake and plastic people, but you're looking at a plastic person and saying she looks good. So it makes me question who's real and who's fake, you or her. Well, we already know who she is. Then you have people trying to donate money to her so she can reach $1 billion through her whatever it is that she's about to become a billionaire on. Because I don't see nothing even remotely attractive about that chick. Like nothing. Sorry, I don't know, and personally, I don't give a damn. Like that's something that I don't care about. You know, it's funny, Who Rally, that you say that because I'm gonna tell y'all something, and then I'm gonna get back onto the topics. There was a. Do y'all remember the video I did about the black woman who came at that white woman who came at them when her and her boyfriend or husband was in that hospital with their kids, and the white woman wouldn't mind her business, and I made a commentary about it. I had a troll leave a comment this morning and tried to convince me or try to tell me that I was being racist and that's why Trump is, something about Trump. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. Let me tell y'all something right now. Whenever a palm-colored Neanderthal tries to hit you with that "you're racist" bullshit, just know it's because you're calling them out on their shit and they can't handle it. And the reason why they say that is because they cannot come with a rebuttal with what they said or what you responded to them with, so they have to hit you with that to try to make you stand down. I'm like, nice try. At the very most, black people can only be prejudiced. What's going on, Hogan? I get that quite a bit in my comment sections when I'm calling them out on their shit and they want to say that I'm being racist and whatnot. So I'm being racist because I'm on the side of this black mother who was going back at this white woman for not minding her business. And then on top of that, it happened in the DMV area, so I'm gonna go twice as hard. They just don't like being confronted. They think that they can just go around and do whatever they want and that no one's going to say anything. That's why it's an influx of these white people, especially white women, coming at people, calling the police on them because they know that they feel they can get away with it. But it's going to come to a point where black people are going to drop the phone and record it, or they give it off to somebody else, and then they're going to catch these hands. I'm gonna talk about that, Anthony Bates, later on. Like I said, we're gonna be here a while. We're gonna be here a while. Exactly, Action. Thank you. They don't know the definition of racist, but they created the social construct of race. But they claim to have a high IQ. Like, how does that work? You created this system that we're living in. But see, the system is falling now. It's failing them. They thought it was going to stand the test of time and it was going to last forever. They are hanging on by a thread. A very tiny thread, and it's starting to rip. It's falling. Exactly. They call it race. Exactly correct. They call it race baiting. That's another term that they love to use. They try to convince you that what you're saying is wrong and that you need to stop and everything like that, and we need to all hold hands. I don't want to hold hands with you. And see, they're scared because people like myself and others, like people who are in the chat right now, are aware of their shit. They realize that their manipulations don't work anymore. It's even gotten to the point where, quiet as it's kept and as shocking as it is, some white people are tired of other white people. It's gotten to that point. That too, Anthony. The world does see what they're doing thanks to the internet and social media. The world does see how they are now. So they no longer can hide in the shadows. You know, to be quite honest, many of them don't want to. A lot of them want to be very bold with what they're doing. Look at the story I did about the guy on the plane, the one on the Southwest plane, who groped that woman while she was sleeping. His reasoning as to why he did that, because Donald Trump said it was okay. That was a statement. He said that he groped her on that plane because Donald Trump said it was okay. So ladies, y'all better watch your back, because it's some pervs out here, and they going around just grabbing everything they can because Donald Trump gave them the okay to do so. You got a point there, Brio, because I was listening to somebody, I can't remember who it was. A lot of them do know that there's a system in place, and many of them don't want to be racist, but they can't help because they live in a system that benefits them. So they're not going to completely step away from something that's benefited them for so long. And actually, when I was at the gym and I had brought that up, one of the people I work out with, they said most of the sexual assaults and harassments happen on the plane, because what happens is, if you're on those flights that are like really long flights, where you're talking about 10 plus hours long, sometimes women will take a sleep aid to go to sleep, and then that's when you'll have these pervs doing what they do, because those sleep aids will knock you out and you probably won't feel a thing, almost like an anesthesia. So I'm talking about reaching around, grabbing on your breasts, probably unbuttoning your shirt, filling up your skirt, possibly. Of course, those really don't go reported though. Okay, Gigi, then you would know what I'm talking about. You said you was a flight attendant, so yeah, you would know. Okay, the next topic I wanted to talk about was Dwayne Johnson, and I'm not talking about the wrestler slash actor Dwayne Johnson. I'm talking about Dwayne Johnson, who used to be the groundskeeper who contracted cancer from that weed killer Roundup, and he took Monsanto to court a few months ago, and he actually won his case, in which he was supposed to be paid a settlement of $289 million. Now, fast forward to recently, the judge has completely almost obliterated that entire amount and said that he will now receive a payout of $39 million. Now, as we all know, that's a far cry away from 289 million. That's a huge dip in what he was supposed to receive. My guess, the people at Monsanto got into the ears of that judge and said, "You will lower this settlement amount to $289 million." And it was so crazy. What's going on, Hood Mistress? And it's so crazy because The reason that the judge gave is saying that they didn't find any grounds for him to receive this kind of money, or that they didn't prove anything. I said he won his case. All the evidence was there. It was proven. The guy has lacerations on his skin and he contracted cancer, and it was proven that that's what it came from. What do you mean there was no proof? There's some countries that don't allow Monsanto products to be in there, and then some people, from what I've heard, some people are like from Monsanto are strongholding some nations into forcing them to have their products. And see, like I said in the video, they were probably expecting him to not live to even make it to that first trial, to even get to that. They were probably expecting him to die. And this man has two sons. But they said his lawyers are going to try to go back to court again, and they're not going to leave until he gets all the money that he rightfully deserves. So hopefully they do, you know, are successful with that. I don't know, because you're fighting up against this corrupt company that has been in and out of the courthouse for years, for decades. I mean, they have court proceedings for them going back to the 80s and probably even before then. But the thing is, what is different with his is that he actually won his case. The other people, they either lost the case or they settled out of court. But his actually went and he actually won. Like there was an actual verdict and everything. Oh, no doubt, the judge definitely was corrupt. The judge definitely got was whispered to on the side, and they made them go back and reduce how much they was going to give this man, $39 million. And then I think another thing that caused that is because I think he had said like what he had planned to do with the money. You know, since he had cancer and he was dying anyway, he was going to leave it to his sons and what they planned on doing with it. And something may have gotten out, and they didn't want him to get it because he probably was going to do something tangible to create possible generational wealth with it. And they probably figured, oh, he can't do nothing with $39 million. I said, if you got your head on straight and you got a good business sense and you're working with the right people, you'll be surprised what someone can do with $39 million. So, Mistress, you still dealing with that stalker? I hope I'm not jinxing myself, but I haven't dealt with the stalker that you helped me out with for well over 2 months now. Like they haven't come back and tried to do anything to me since. So maybe Twitter finally got the hint and removed their page. And I should say pages, because I'm convinced they had multiple accounts. Right, DJ? He can still do a lot with $39 million. You just got to be careful though, because those bloodsuckers, them leeches, are going to try it. They are going to try and bleed him dry. But I'm glad that he's still here and he's still alive and he's still continuing to fight, to get what's his. And that he has, it appears to me that he has good, solid lawyers on his side. So I have a feeling that everything is going to work out for the best for him. They are scared of you of having wealth, and that actually is going to segue into my next topic. It was actually going to be the first topic, but since someone mentioned it right here, I'm going to talk about it now. Now, this topic, I didn't talk about it, but I heard it on Lovely T's channel. And I said, you know what? I'm going to save that one for my live stream. And that topic is Lavar Ball. Y'all probably like, oh my God, what's going on with Lavar Ball now? Why are we talking about Lavar Ball? That's a name we haven't heard in a while. Well, once I get through the premise of this, you'll understand where I'm going with it. So Lavar Ball last year had announced that he wanted to launch a JBL organization, which stands for the Junior Basketball League, in which men who play the sport of basketball most likely probably cannot get into the NBA, and they still want to play the game. And what he was going to do was he was going to set up a program where they can play like they're playing in the NBA and still get paid. Now, of course, they're not going to have these big, outlandish contracts like the NBA players are receiving, but they were still going to receive some money. He got met with so much opposition when he came up with that idea, and they gave him so much blowback and saying that it wouldn't work and everything like that, mainly because they didn't like how the guy is. They felt like he was too egotistical, he was too loud, he was overbearing. So fast forward to recently, and I mean very recent, Adam Silver in the NBA took his idea and created a junior league for the NBA, which was the same exact thing that LeVar Ball was going to do. It was the same exact thing, but they just changed the name of it. And because it's the NBA, more people are going to gravitate towards that rather than to LeVar Ball. And the same people who gave him pushback against it are now saying how great of an idea it is now that Adam Silver, and if y'all don't know who Adam Silver is, he's the commissioner of the NBA. Now that Adam Silver and the NBA have come up with this quote unquote plan, which was really LeVar Ball's plan, now they're loving and praising it. I said, though, they are a hypocritical mess. Right, Craig? They call it the NBA Junior League. Now, remember, Ice Cube started the Big Three League, which allowed retired NBA players to continue playing on the sport of basketball. And it's still running as far as I know. But remember, a few months ago, or maybe it was late last year or sometime last year, this person came out of the blue and said he wanted to sue Ice Cube for a boatload of money because he claimed that it was his idea and he didn't get a cut of the funds or something to that effect. And I'm looking at this, I'm saying, this guy is lying through his teeth. So, safe to say, the case didn't go nowhere and he ended up dropping it. I would have countersued his ass just for wasting my goddamn time. Black Rage and Sonny, y'all actually make a good point. LeVar Ball should not have said anything, but LeVar Ball, like Black Rage said, he has a big mouth, so it's like he has to just announce everything he does. When it comes to stuff that we come up with and what we want to do, we have to move and operate in silence. But to be honest, that is probably one of the smartest business tactics that you can use. You don't want to announce to the world everything that you do until everything is set in stone. You've crossed all your T's and dotted all of your I's. However, it still doesn't take away the fact that they actually stole from this man. So in a way, by him announcing what he was going to do, and then they came right and undercut him, works. And the reason why I say that is because say LeVar Ball did not say what he was going to do if in the NBA Junior League formed up. If LeVar Ball came out and said that he was going to do this JBL thing, which was the same exact thing, nobody would believe him because he didn't say anything. But by him saying something, now they can say, "Oh, he did. They did steal from him." But at the end of the day, it still won't. It won't really matter. That's why a lot of black people cannot really get over or try to do whatever it is that they want to accomplish because you'll have these blood-sucking leeches waiting in the wings, ready to steal or pull that financial rug from right up under you. That's why a lot of black people, quiet as it's kept, are scared to do business for themselves because of this. It's like Black Wall Street all over again, except without the bombing of your town. But don't put it past them because they just might do it. Well, Byron Allen better be very careful too, Sonny, because we live in a time of Me Too. And all it takes is one woman to say that he did that and this, that, and the third to him, and he'll be gone from his position. And they going to drag him out. Like, they're not going to do the whole thing like they doing with Les Moonves. They're going to get him out of there fast, quick, and in a hurry. Yeah, Crow, we're going to talk about that. We haven't talked about that yet. Exactly. They're going to sweat it in still from it. As a matter of fact, it was an article I had saw on Atlanta Black Star a couple years ago where it was talking about the top Fortune 500 companies that benefited off of the backs of slavery. I can't remember all of them, but I know quite a few of them were banks. I said that doesn't surprise me in the least bit. But you'll have these palm-colored individuals claim that we didn't do a damn thing for the establishment, that they did everything. That's some damn lie. I don't remember seeing pictures of my ancestors and your ancestors out there picking cotton side by side. However, I did see my ancestors picking cotton and your ancestors on a horse holding a whip. Exactly, Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo, I do remember seeing that name on there. That's a good name for but it became Wells Fargo. I'm gonna use that one. Right, Ash, in private schools and all of that. Yeah, but a lot, like I said, a lot of banks, a lot of big companies, and a lot of them that a lot of black people frequent, but they wouldn't know about it because they don't put that kind of information out there. And of course, if they did, they would just continue to deny it. Is Wells Fargo even still called Wells Fargo anymore? Or is it something else? I could have sworn that Wells Fargo was named something else before they got the name change. Oh, okay. I was just making sure. I thought they was under you know what bank I was thinking of? Wachovia. I don't think they're around anymore. I think they just closed like a couple years ago. Wachovia. Okay, then I was right. It was called Wachovia before it was Wells Fargo. Okay, so let's go on to the next topic, and none other than Megyn Kelly. It felt good having accused of violence on this chick. I never thought that the day would actually come, but it did. So as we all know, Megyn Kelly on her show, on what used to be her show, because it's now gone. Uh, she had made some comments basically defending the stance of blackface in all her stupidity and ignorance, and thought that was a good idea. Now let me say this: we know that was not the reason why she got fired or the reason why her show was canceled. Her show was canceled because the ratings were low and horrible. Like the ratings for her show were low out the gate. Now, if y'all don't remember, Megyn Kelly was actually supposed to receive another show. Like I think it was a nightly show, but that thing got pulled instantly. But they said we're not going to pull both of them. We need her to have at least one show. And what they did was they pushed Al Roker and Tamron Hall out of the way. Al Roker is still over there, but Tamron Hall ended up leaving altogether. And speaking of Tamron Hall, I heard she's about to get a new show over at ABC. But they pushed her out altogether. Al Roker and Tamron Hall were in the number. They had like the highest rated slot at that time before they bumped them and put Megyn Kelly in that spot. That just shows you right there that they will put mediocrity in the place of excellence, especially if that mediocrity is white. Double if it's a white woman. But the thing is, she thought she could bring all her rhetoric from Fox News over there. Now, this is a woman who has a law degree. I don't know about you, but there's no way I could sit up there and just spew a bunch of BS, and I have a law degree. I would be out here trying to defend as many people as possible and put that law degree to work, especially if that was a law degree that costs a lot of money to get. And then, of course, she gave the usual apology and whatnot. And then when they panned to that audience, that was such a disgusting display to look at of them individuals applauding and cheering her on in her so-called apology, which wasn't really even an apology. It was just a statement that she used to cover her own butt. Now, mind you, Megyn Kelly was uh, paid an annual amount of $20 million a year. They only gave Tamron Hall like $1 million, maybe a little bit more than that, but nowhere close to how much Megyn Kelly was being paid. And Tamron Hall actually has background in journalism, in true journalism. Now, a lot of people, now it's two things. One, people said that they think Megyn Kelly might end up back at Fox News. I'm here to tell you, I doubt that's going to happen because based on what I've heard, her coworkers over there or her former coworkers, they never were really fond of her after a while. She was trying her hardest to be the female version of Bill O. Wife Beater. And in some circles, you would say that she probably was successful at that. If they didn't, let's put it this way: if they're not going to bring back Bill a wife beater who was the sole reason why Fox News was at where it's at, as far as ratings go. What makes you think they're going to bring back Megyn Kelly? That's another thing, Ashton. As Black people, we got to stop doing this. As Black people, we have got to stop trying to educate these racist white people about what is racism. Like you said earlier, they created the social construct of race. They defined it. They know what it is. They just want us to extend the olive branch and hold their hand and guide them along the way. No, there's definitions of racism everywhere, but see, they try to act like they don't know and act like they're naive. At that point, the conversation is over before it begins. Another thing people were saying was that Megyn Kelly is going to be okay because she was going to get that $69 million severance package. Listen, like I said in the video, NBC has to pay her that severance package because if they don't, she can sue them and she would most likely win and she can get more money. She was going to get that money anyway. That's why I compared it to a cell phone bill. If you have a cell phone, a bill, and you're under a 2-year contract, and you try to get an upgrade before your contract is over, you have to pay the remainder of that bill before the company or the carrier allows you to get into another contract. Then you got to pay to get into that next contract too. So it's like a lot of moving parts that goes with it. So they had to pay her the money. So at the end of the day, the real culprit behind Megyn Kelly in her antics as of recently all falls on the shoulders of NBC because they hired her. And like I said, I think the reason they hired her is because they were trying to stick it to Fox News. But they did some underhanded things by shifting Tamron Hall and Al Roker out of that slot just to put her in. So NBC, you get whatever you deserve. And also, I heard that Megyn Kelly is trying to now go after NBC again for a $50 million settlement. And I'm like, for what? Now I said at that point, now I believe she's reaching because I'm trying to figure out what are you settling? What happened now? Sonny, they probably hired her because they felt that she, like Harvey says, they felt she was eye candy. See, Fox News caters to a certain demographic. When Megyn Kelly went over to NBC, she should have known she was in over her head. Both her and NBC should have known. Why would NBC bring a woman who spews that kind of rhetoric on a network like that, who knows what kind of stuff that they talk about and who they cater to, bring them over to a more mainstream and broader, diverse audience? Not only old white men watch Good Morning America or NBC in that time slot, and some of them will probably sleep at that time. When Megyn Kelly came on, she came on in the evening when they were still awake. And to be honest, a lot of people do not like her. Not just black people, but white people don't like her either. And Fox News, like Anthony said, is not a news network. It just has the news in its name. It's pure entertainment. That's all it is. Well, it's entertainment for them. It doesn't entertain me in the least bit. But my thing is this though, OG Swag, you moved the two people who had the highest ratings in that slot out of this slot to move this woman over here, and your ratings went all the way down. That's moving backwards, not forwards. Butter pecan, she seems is an understatement. She does have an arrogant attitude. Megyn Kelly is very, very arrogant. And to kind of step off of Megyn Kelly for a little bit, I still don't appreciate what Melissa Rivers said about Michael Jackson and Diana Ross. When she said that, well, if they wanted to go as Diana Ross, all they had to do was dress up as Michael Jackson. That still rubs me the wrong way. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan, and I take that the wrong way. And then they showed the picture of the person who dressed up as Diana Ross or was supposed to be Diana Ross, and they said that don't look anything like Diana Ross. Even in the quote unquote blackface that they did, it still didn't look like her. But I did come back with this. I said, okay, Melissa, well, if anybody wanted to go to on Halloween as a zombie, they could always dress up like your mother. And I meant just that. Because her mother, while she was alive, had a filthy mouth herself, out here calling people trannies and stuff and whatnot. And what happened a couple weeks later? She died. But somebody might pick Megyn Kelly back up and everything. But see, like I said, it's not about the money. Megyn Kelly has millions in her bank account. This $69 million is a drop in the bucket for her from all the money that she's made over at Fox News. For her, it's all about having a platform to say what she says. Tommy Lauren was the same exact way. When she was on the Blaze but got let go, she only cared about the platform. So what did she do? She started doing videos from her home on Facebook. And she still spews the same rhetoric on Twitter. I'll never forget the time I added her and called her a hood rat, and 5 minutes later, I get a notification from Twitter locking my account for 12 hours because apparently it must have got to her. And notice when they were having that discussion about blackface, it was not one black person sitting at that table. It was Megyn Kelly, Melissa Rivers, uh, uh, what's that Butch daughter's name? I forget her name, and some guy who I don't know who he is. But it was not one black person on at that table. They like to have discussions about us, but they don't like to include us in their discussions. Not that I would want to be at that table, because I can only imagine like being overpowered in the conversation. You know, like it, when it comes to them, it's hard to really debate them the way you really want to, because then they'll start getting emotional with it, and they'll try to make you emotional at the same time. Right, Dr. Pressure. They probably say, well, the audience is black. That's the equivalent of saying, well, I have a black friend. It's not, it doesn't mean nothing. But yeah, like if we see Megyn Kelly again, I won't be surprised that she got a new gig or anything like that. Because what has Professor Black Truth and Jason Black taught us? They do not get fired, they get transferred. And to this day, that that title has it still holds weight. No, but they'll try to say, but no, but Terry, but they'll use this. They'll say white chicks, or that time that Nick Cannon had did that. I guess it was some kind of an impersonation. Or they'll try to use the time when Eddie Murphy was that Italian guy in Coming to America. Let me tell y'all something about when it comes to white chicks. Yeah, we know they made a movie about white chicks and everything like that, but it wasn't to demean white people. And and let me add this: while the movie was made by Sean and Marlon Wayans, and I think their brother Keenan Ivory Wayans had a hand in it too, they didn't release the movie on their own terms. They did it through a white owned studio, which means they had to approve the script, they had to approve the story, and they had to approve the movie in order to release it to the public. And it was white people who went out and saw that movie and enjoyed it and laughed with the rest of us. So don't get outraged now because of that one movie. They always like to forget to mention that because they know if they do, or if you bring it up to them, that ends the argument right there. Then they'll probably deflect to something like black on black crime. You know, that's their go-to argument. What's going on, Victor? Hey, let her do her own live streams. I don't have to watch it. You don't have to watch it. She won't. I'll tell you this. She won't get paid the same way as she was when she was on NBC. That's for sure. She gets paid at all. All right, let's move on from that. Now here's someone right here that we can talk about. But you know what? Before I get on him, there's something I gotta do first. There's something I have to do, and I said I was going to do this. Uh, before I actually really got. So as y'all know, I did a video recently about Richard Spencer and talking about how he and his wife got a divorce. I'm sorry, I muted myself by mistake. And how he and his wife got a divorce. Y'all hear me now? Okay. Yeah, I had muted the thing by mistake. So as we all know, Richard Spencer recently got a divorce, or is going through a separation with his wife right now. And it was something that I should have did in that video that I didn't get a chance to. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play something and just let it ride on out, in tribute to that. Now I had some people in the comment section didn't know why I was playing that music. Y'all, I'm wondering, are y'all new to the channel? Well, the reason why I play that music, and I have done it in a lot of my recent videos, that's what I call my wake up call theme song, or the karma song. And I play that whenever somebody or anybody gets their wake up call, or as Harvey calls it, their nigga moment. And that was in tribute to Richard Spencer and his Elvira looking wife getting a divorce. So apparently, according to her, she says that she has been abused physically and verbally. That doesn't surprise me in the least bit, considering this is Richard Spencer we're talking about here. The guy is flat broke. Remember, a few months ago, he couldn't even afford a $4 shot glass of bourbon. That's how broke he is. Someone in the comment section has said Robert Mercer pulled the financial rug from underneath him after that whole thing that happened in Charlottesville. Like, the guy is like, he's probably hurting for money. I think he created some kind of campaign to raise funds. Like, the guy is hurting for money. And I'm glad that he is. It couldn't have happened to a more well-deserving individual. What's going on, riding with the B1 Media? Magenta, the video, well, I was playing it from my phone. That's why you couldn't see anything. Oh, yes, Terry, it was a funeral. It was the nail in the coffin to his relationship. But that shows how a lot of these races get down. But I don't give her any like any kudos just for leaving, because she knew who she got with when she married the guy. And she stayed with him through all this. The only reason she's saying something now is because she feels probably the timing is right. But that's his own fault. Oh, he'll be back again, and he'll probably get punched in the face again. Isn't it ironic that Richard Spencer is constantly getting attacked? Whenever he gets attacked, it's by people who look like him. I will never forget that day he got punched in the face by that Antifa member, and it was right after Donald Trump's inauguration. It was in January of last year. That punch came out of left field and knocked him in his jaw. No, I didn't see that interview, and I can just about um, figure out that he probably did sound like an idiot. I know I don't, Ashton. I know Hood Mistress. I actually did a pre-recorded video about it, and I'll probably upload that later on today. And so the thing is, it wasn't only one time that he got hit. He got hit a couple of times, and it was by other white people. But he has this hatred against black people. See, their code is a very interesting one. They get on code to hate against us, but it's mostly their own that's doing harm to them. The hatred I think that they have for us literally is just all in their head. Meanwhile, you got other white people that hate them and will physically attack them. Case in point, Richard Spencer. Now, one black person has laid hands on Richard Spencer that I know of yet, but all the people that have gotten physical with him have been white. And I think I've seen it on 3 different occasions, and all of them happened in the same year. I played that punch over and over again. Man, listen, if I had the software that I have now on my computer back then, I would have made one big comedic style video about that with me just like going in on that. I would have did like, slow motion, probably added the violence and all kinds of stuff into that video if I had the software back then. But that don't mean anything, because anything can happen to Richard Spencer now, and I'll be prepared for when that day comes. Exactly, hood mistress. They will lose their jobs, and risk financial security just to come at our neck. I mean, how many white people have called the cops on black people this year alone and got fired? A lot of them. They will risk making money just to quote unquote stick it to us. And then they'll get so surprised and worked up if we do decide to strike back. Like, how could you do this to me? Like, how are you going to ask that question when you just provoked me and thought I was just going to stand there and take that? But then some black people play it safe and don't do anything because they know what'll happen to them more so than anything. Oh, if karma comes for Jared Taylor, now that'll be the day. Him and David Duke. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about is a topic I didn't do a video on. As a matter of fact, the next couple of topics that I'm gonna talk about, I didn't do a video on, and I'm glad I didn't because I'm able to talk about it with y'all. And that's Gregory Allen Bush. Now, to the people who were asking me what topics am I getting ready to talk about, am I talking about this, that, and the third? Now I'm about to head into the heavier topics that got, I guess you could say, a lot of mainstream attention. So we're gonna start with this Gregory Allen Bush character. For those of you who don't know who Gregory Allen Bush is, he is the guy that shot that black couple at the Kroger's in Kentucky. He shot and killed the husband in the store, and then he went and he shot the wife outside. Now he most likely did not know that they were a couple. He just saw that they were black and decided, hey, I'm gonna just go ahead and shoot them and kill them. Right before he did that, he had a plan to go to a majority black church and shoot that up, like Dylan Roof style. Like that was his plan. Like he was planning on doing just that. But the church was smart and did not let him in. They probably saw him and said, "This guy looks suspicious. We've never seen him in the community, and we're not going to let him in." We remember what happened in South Carolina with Dylan Roof. We're not letting him in. Hold on, I'm reading something. So okay, so are y'all saying they weren't a couple, or they didn't know each other? Because I heard some people say that they were a couple, and some people saying that they weren't. If they were not a couple, my apologies. Okay, they were just two. Okay, they were just two random black people. They went after them because they were considered, my soft target theory still stands. He went after two older black people. He didn't go after two young black men. He went after two older black people. He just randomly went there and he shot and killed both of them. One was, I think, one was in the store and one was outside of the store. And he was probably like, "Well, I'm going to kill me some niggers today. Like, I did not come all the way out of my trailer park, out of my swamp, and not do anything today." So because he could not get into that church, he decided and went to that Kroger and just found two random black people and just shot and killed them. Now, what's interesting though is I found out, and I believe it was on Lisa Cabrera's channel, was that this Gregory Allen Bush guy years ago, not anymore, but years ago, was actually married to a black woman. They're not together anymore. Apparently, they've been divorced for so long. But that just like it boggles my mind. Like, how could you end up in a relationship with a person that is that racist? Oh, don't get me wrong. That was most likely a hate crime. That was a hate crime for sure. Because the motive was there. The motive was there. He wanted to kill black people, and he did. Unfortunately, he killed two of them. And when you look at this guy's picture, like his mugshot, or every time that they're like, carrying him in, he has these big old eyes, like they look like real creepy, like he's trying to look deep into your soul. In every picture, like the mugshot and the one where he was being, carried in front of a judge. That's a good one. Taylor says, segregated by day, integrated by night. That can go right into the next thing I'm going to discuss, and that's John Kinsman. He was the one part of that whole Proud Boys thing. You know that Proud Boys incident that happened? Now, he is married to a black woman, and they're still married. I saw that picture and with their kids. I said that must be a scary household to be in. Because who knows what is being taught by him to his kids. He's currently going through the court system right now though. But what I thought was very interesting is they pulled the George Zimmerman treatment on that guy. And by that I mean they completely altered his look. Like when they first apprehended him, he had a full-on beard and everything, long hair, like he looked like a straight up conservative flag Ford truck driving through the mud redneck. But now that they've cleaned him up, he looks completely different. Like I said on Lisa's channel, I said if I was to walk past him or drive past him, or for the picture that I've seen of him with the beard on yesterday, and today I saw him how he looks now, I would swear he was two different people. It's one thing that when you get with these white individuals. And there's another thing when you get with them and you know that they have a history of being racist and you're still with them. Like, do you hate your own that much that you would actually lay in bed with a person that would probably kill your brother? Like, I think that's probably the saddest thing of it all. Like, this person would probably do harm to your family members and you're laid up and married to them. I think Chris Miller did a video about it as well. And I think that's how I found out that that's who he was married to. Good example, H. Bledsoe, the Housley family, talking about Tamira Maury Housley and her husband Adam Housley. Yeah, Taylor, I know why they did it. They try to soften the blow. They try to make him look or appear to be innocent when he's really not. Like, they have all the evidence there, but see, I won't be surprised if he gets off from this. Now, see, if it was a black person, they won't clean them up. They'll bring them in and have them look in the exact same way as they caught them. If they weren't clean cut or anything like that when they brought them before the judge, that's exactly how they're gonna look throughout the court proceedings, unless by some technicality they allow them to clean themselves up. Because they have to give them the idea that, oh, we cleaned him up, so now he's clean and clear of all wrongdoing. That's not how it works. Just because you clean somebody up doesn't erase the fact that you killed somebody. Just because you clean somebody up doesn't mean that you are clear of robbing someone. Just because you clean somebody up doesn't clear you of raping someone. That's not how it works. But they'll have you believe that's how it works, but it only works for them. All right, the next thing I wanted to talk about, and I think this is pretty obvious, is the quote unquote MAGA bomber. And I used up that in complete quotes because not one bomb went off. Like, they were just delivered there and, nothing happened. They were real bombs, but they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything catastrophic. So they found the guy who was responsible. And to be honest, I truly believe that it was way more. I think it was more than one person. I don't see how one person could have did all of that or sent those bombs to all those locations. I just don't see it happening. But they found the guy. His name is Caesar Sayat Jr. I believe he's 56 years old, and he's from Florida. And he was a staunch, and I do mean a staunch Trump supporter. And what was so interesting is that when they found him, they found his van. I said, did he must have really been trying to bring attention to himself, because if I was to see a van like that that had all these Trump quotes and these pictures of Trump and the pictures of people he didn't like with the crosshairs on, like he was going to make target practice out of him, I would grow highly suspicious. But what I thought was also interesting was when they said where he used to do. They said he used to work at a strip club. This guy used to strip. When they said he worked at the strip club, I didn't know what he was doing. I was like, okay, does he manage the club? Is he like a bartender? Does he clean the club? But no, they said he was a stripper. But he sent all these bombs, but I really think that it was more of a they rather than a he. Sent all these bombs to around the establishment to a lot of people who are Democrats or they have an opposing view of 45. Like multiple locations. A lot of them were on the East Coast. And I think they said he also lived with his mother or something like that. Like the guy was a bum. Let's just put it that way. The guy was a bum. Right, Joe. He had a long criminal history. He had a very lengthy criminal history, and most of it dates back to him creating bomb materials. Like the guy just had a fascination with making bombs, but none of them actually went off or anything like that. But he just had a fascination with bomb and bomb making materials, dating back to I think they said 2012, but it could have been possibly before that. And what's the one thing we have not heard him be called yet? I want to see who's gonna get it correct in the comments, in the chat. What's the one thing he hasn't been labeled yet? Not that Brielle. Not that associated. Nope. Nope. Thank you. Hood Mistress got it. A terrorist. They have not labeled that man a terrorist, even though what he did was an act of terror. Because if you want to go by their definition of terrorism, isn't that committing a threatening act against the government? All the people that he sent this stuff to, not all of them, but a few of them held government positions. Oh, y'all said he was living in the van? His family threw him out? Oh, then he's really a bum. Now, Craig, we know they ain't gonna call him WIE. They don't even have that as a thing. They only created that BIE stuff for us. They only leave that terrorist act label on someone who's like an Arab or someone like that. They only leave the terrorist label to them because of 9/11. So they believe that all of them, no matter what kind of thing that they do, they will be labeled a terrorist. With us, is black identity extremist. But for them, they don't have a label. I have plenty of labels for them, as y'all already know. Plenty. A laundry list. I'm gonna talk about that, Joe. I most definitely am. That's another good one, MG, a lone wolf. But that's usually a label that they usually give them though. But they didn't give it to him though. Appreciate it, H Blood. So she said the chat is better than church. But see, the thing is, what they are going to do is they specified that this guy is of Filipino and Native American descent. They are not, I repeat, they are not going to label that man as white. They do not want that as a stain upon them. They like it's bad enough that we got to deal with all these individuals with this mass shootings, and we got to find a way to deflect from them. We are not going to have this guy who was creating these bombs upon them. They'll do their best to dig into their backgrounds to find out what they're from. This guy could be a native, like he could be 1/1000th Native American, and everyone in his family could be white. But they will dodge all of the white people in his family and go to that one native ancestor and say, "Oh, he's native. He's not one of us." That's just like when Senator Warren had said that she was a Native American, but then when they pulled it up, she was like one something 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 percent Native American. I was like, lady, I said, Senator Warren, you are a white woman. Like anyone can look at you and say, Native where? That's how them $5 Indians came about. I said, y'all point me to a blonde haired, blue eyed Native American, and I can sell you a bridge in Brooklyn for free. And then if they can't get them off of their appearance, they'll go off of the name, Caesar Sayoc. They'll be like, well, I don't know any white people named Caesar. If they didn't know the guy was of Filipino or Native American descent with that name Caesar, they would probably swear he was probably part Mexican. They love to throw those labels on people when they're doing bad, but they love to influence the label of being white when it comes to that census because they need the numbers. One thing I said I wish I could do is if I work for the census, I wish I could see what people classify themselves as, um, like Latinos and things of that nature. I would like to see what they circle on that census because they actually have a spot for them to circle if they identify as Latino. But I have a feeling many of them actually circle white. I can't remember the last time I filled a census out, to be quite honest, now that I think about it. Hood Mitchell said 5 cent Indian. I can believe most of them circle white because they know if they do, there's certain benefits behind them doing that. But speaking of someone who thinks they're white, let's talk about that girl Treasure on Dr. Phil. I like how that transition right into it. I was like, how am I going to transition into this topic? I said, oh, this is going to be perfect. Now, this is the one I think a lot of people have been wanting me to talk about because I kept seeing people wanting me to asking me to talk about this, whether it was an email, on Twitter, in the community tab, on here in this chat. First off, no one would ever think that her name would be that a white girl's name would be Treasure. Now, if she said her name was Jewel, possibly, but Treasure, no. That story right there is it's so sad, it's so pathetic, but something tells me it could be so staged at the same time. So, what happens is you had this mother go to Dr. Phil and she had her daughter there, and she says that her daughter claims that she's white. She pretty much the girl pretty much talks like a white supremacist. She says everything under the sun every stereotype about black people. You would think that the girl is campaigning to get onto Fox News. Like, it's just horrible. And it's multiple things that I can put onto this. One of them definitely being the mother. Like, the mother, the mother clearly she had her daughter with a black man. Like, no one's gonna look at this chick and even think for 1 second that she's quote unquote biracial, which is what her mother has been telling her for years. That's why I said I put uh, a lot of the blame on her mother, because her mother's been lying to her. Her mother told her that this white man that she ended up marrying was her dad. And when I saw the white guy that she was with, I'm like, whoa, whoa. You want to know what's so funny just now? The minute I said I'm gonna start talking about this treasure chick, my watching views went up. I was sitting at like 100. That thing jumped up to now 115. It's almost like I sent out a distress call and I was like, I'm about to talk about this chick, this treasure girl from Dr. Phil, and now everybody just kind of flocked right on in. But anyway, when I was looking at her husband, I'm like, so you just would marry anything, I guess. So what ended up happening is, um, the white husband, he ended up dying or something like. Didn't the husband die? He died, right? I'm gonna get on that. To Jehudi, I'm gonna get on that. That was what made it so funny. Now that was a wake up call in itself. Didn't the husband die, or is he still alive? Okay, so he died. Left her nothing. He didn't leave her a dime. Nothing. She came in with nothing and she left with nothing except a brainwashed daughter. Her her mother had to go back to the hood. It was so funny because I was actually on a chat and we were talking about this. And shout out to Kendra D, because she was saying like she couldn't even bed winch right. She got with this old white guy. He didn't leave her nothing, and she had to end up going back to the hood. Okay, I'm hearing people saying she has a YouTube channel and saying that she's quoting Charles Manson. Yeah, she's all the way gone. She's all the way gone. Maybe it wasn't staged. If I'm hearing stuff like that, maybe it wasn't staged. And something I noticed when I looked at the interview that she had on Dr. Phil was how she had her head. If y'all looked at that interview, let's say body language is everything. If y'all looked at how her head was like tilted, notice how she kept kind of looking down when she was talking to him, like she was in a very like in a servant role, like servant position. Like she kept looking like her head was tilted downwards while she was looking up. I noticed that. It makes you wonder if that's how her white zaddy was treating her at that time when they were married. Like her and Candace Owens would be bosom buddies. It's a brainwashing thing, August. Her mother brainwashed her and told her she was biracial. Like, that's crazy. Like, she would not, she, that girl doesn't have a bit of, well, significant white blood running through her veins. She's about like a shade darker than me. Shoot, her mother is lighter than she is. But that also could be the makeup too, so you know. But that was very hard to look at and listen to. Like the self-hatred is real. So I put like most of the blame, excuse me, I put most of the blame onto her mother, but don't get it twisted. That girl is in for a rude awakening. Trust and believe. My inner Oshun said I would just want her teeth to get. You know what? I couldn't help but notice that too. Like I'm looking at like, whoa. I said, while y'all on Dr. Phil talking about, her being white and whatnot, y'all should ask Dr. Phil to slide y'all some funds so she can get some braces. Like I said, no one would mistake this girl for being biracial. And the thing is, her mother told her that she was biracial, but this girl is out here thinking that she is white. She's gone beyond being quote unquote mixed to now saying that she's white. I bet you when she applies for jobs, she's going to circle that, but they're going to look at her name and say, that can't be a white girl named Treasure. Dr. Precious says she needs an octagon cage. Y'all are crazy. I don't know what town they live in. Did they say where they're from? It's just like I said, it's just crazy. Like that chick and her daughter are a piece of work. And they both are due for a wake up call, both of them. Oh, could you imagine if the Boondocks was still on right now? They could make a whole episode about her. I wish the Boondocks was still on. Well, not the last season that they came up with. The last season was some trash, and that's because they completely disregarded uh what's his name? The creator of the show. Thank you, Aaron. I mean, Hood Mistress Aaron Magruder. I hope it don't turn out to be fatal either, but in this climate, it could be. But I can tell you right now, it's probably going to leave her in a puddle of tears. I don't know where they live now, but it's not where she was. It's not how she was living before when she was with that white man. Yeah, Boondocks was a very good show. Like a lot of that stuff that happened on that show back in the day is like happening now. I used to watch it every Sunday night on Adult Swim at 11 o'clock. She most likely goes to a majority white school. I could see her. I could see her sending her child to a majority white school that doesn't have too many black people in it. I don't care what that little girl has to say about me. It'll fall on deaf ears. Because guess what? I won't even do a response video to her. But when the time comes, there's only one thing that will occur when her wake up call happens. And it's that. That's all that needs to be said, or all needs to be played. And of course, I'm gonna have to turn on the voice, that voice, and we'll go from there. What's up, Silent Thriller? Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about and is what happened yesterday in Pittsburgh. The shooter who shot up that synagogue, whose name is Robert Bowers, and yes, he is a palm-colored Neander terrorist. They're not going to call him that. I'm going to call him that. You're going to acknowledge him as that, or you can call him WIE, white identity extremist. So this guy went into a synagogue yesterday. He shot it up, killed 11 people, and injured many others. And it happened in Pittsburgh. And I actually found out that it's actually close to some family members that I have up there. They weren't affected. Clearly, they would have no reason to go to a synagogue, but they said it was near where they lived, or they're familiar with the area. And like I said, his name is Robert Bowers. And they literally talked about that all day long. It trended on Twitter the entire day. Like there was not one news outlet that you could turn to and not see it. Like that's all they talked about. Um you said they're gonna call him alone. Of course they are. Of course they are. And it was something that Professor Black Truth had said on Twitter. He said one way you can know that it was a white person that did this is when they describe what kind of weapon was used. Whenever they say AR-15, which was the weapon that he used, it was a white person that did it. And you know what? To be honest, they didn't even have to say that. It's just certain other things that they do that let me know that it was him, that it was a white person that did it. Now, the only thing that surprised me with this is how fast they released his image. They didn't waste time releasing his image. They probably released his image and his name probably maybe an hour or so after it happened. They never do that. Usually they'll drag it on, and we probably wouldn't have found out who he was until today. So we saw his face and found out his name the same day. And I said, you know what? So much of me wants to feel bad, but then I keep thinking about how many of them probably spoke ill when Dylan Roof did what he did in Charleston back in 2015. And not just Dylan Roof, but a lot of the other atrocities that have fallen upon Black people over the years, especially under the Obama administration. I said, I don't feel like extending the olive branch out right now. I really don't. And y'all, and you right, Lamel, he was taken in alive, and he killed Jews. He killed Jewish people. Now, a comment that I had left, a tweet that I put out on Twitter, I said, how much y'all want to bet that mainstream media is not going to force a camera or a microphone into these victims' families' faces and coerce them into forgiving Robert Bowers for what he did? Now, if there's a black person involved in it, and it don't even have to be a black person that died, it could just be like what happened in New York with that Steve Tyler impersonator. And they'll try to coerce a black person into forgiving the person. They are not going to do that with them. You know what they're also not going to call him? They're not going to call him a thug either. You're right, Brio. They took out Chris Dorner and Michael Johnson with the swiftness. They said we ain't gonna have no case with them. We're gonna take them out. Because see, the thing is, they feel that they are a bigger threat than this guy could ever be. And see, Chris Dorner and Michael Johnson, they went at and killed. Their prime targets were the cops. This guy's target were the Jews, were Jewish people. Well, quote unquote Jewish people. Okay, they say he's going to get a severe punishment, but exactly what does that incline? I'm curious. That could be just about anything. Because if it's anything but the death penalty, then I don't see how that would be so severe. A link to what, Will 33? Oh, yes, they have a saying, don't forgive and don't forget. Well, guess what? We as black people should adopt that. Don't forgive, don't forget. We, for the most part, a lot of us have the don't forget part down, but we are slacking in the don't forgive department. Like many of us will never forget what happened to Trayvon Martin. But you had a lot of people forgiving George Zimmerman for what he did. We won't forget what Dylan Roof did, but you had a lot of people forgiving Dylan Roof for what he did. We have a lot of people who don't forget what happened to Tamir Rice, but we forgive what the person did to Tamir Rice. Dr. Precious says severe punishment equals going to Burger King instead of Panera. And we know how much they like their Panera and their Starbucks. But what I find so interesting too is that you have a lot of quote unquote Jewish people claim that black people are the most anti-Semitic people. They have thrown that label on Farrakhan for years and still throw it on him. But I can't remember a time when Farrakhan openly threatened them or said that he was going to have the NOI go after them. Yet you have this guy right here who just killed 11 of them in a synagogue. And I haven't heard one of them say anything about him practicing anti-Semitism or that what's the name of that group? That is it, I think what's it called, the ACLU? Many white people do not like the Jewish people because many of them follow the ideology of Hitler. But what I thought was interesting too was when I was watching the news, was you had people on there saying, why isn't Trump saying anything? I said, why are you asking him to say or respond to this in a way you think he's going to? And I saw Trump's response, and it was in typical Trump fashion, just nonchalant and not caring. I said, and water is wet. And another thing that kills me, and a lot of white people do this, is when they say stuff like this. Thank you, SPLC. Stuff like this does not happen in our neighborhoods. I remember hearing that a lot, even as a kid. I'm like, is that true? And my parents would be like, no, it always stuff like that always happens in their neighborhoods. They just find a way to cover it up. And that statement right there lets you know that they live in their own bubble. That's why I say when people be like white people be together and united, I said no, they're not. Not as much as you think they are. This right here proves it. The whole thing with Brett Kavanaugh that happened last month, that's another one. That shows you how they got on code against each other, which you rarely see. That infighting is serious, but it's starting to seep out and people are starting to see it for what it is, but they're trying their hardest to keep it locked up so people don't see what's going on. Right, Taylor, the Khazars. I couldn't think of the name, but that's right, the Khazars. Good point, Lamel. No mention of white on white crime. As much as they love to spill that black on black crime mess, no one has mentioned anything about white on white crime. That's why I said their code is a very wicked one. It's a very tricky one too, but it's starting to seep out now, and more people are starting to see it for what it is. At least I know I am, and I know y'all who are listening, who is in the chat right now, can see it as well. But like I said, most of these white people out here do not like quote unquote Jews. See, a black person gonna have common sense. They're not gonna go out there and say that they don't like them because they already know what's gonna happen to them. But them, they are just bold with it because they know that they can get away with it. Case in point, this guy didn't like them, so what did he do? He slaughtered them. He went into a synagogue, a place where they're going to worship, and he killed them. All right, I pretty much covered all of my topics. Now I'm gonna go over to my community tab and see what comments I like, what topics I didn't talk about, and talk about them a little bit over here. Someone had mentioned that they wanted me to talk about the corruption as far as like the prisons go with black men in particular. Oh, that's real easy. It's money in those prisons. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and they need to keep them prisons filled. As a matter of fact, someone has sent me an article to maybe a quote today about how for the first time in American history that the prison population has exceeded 1 million prisoners, and all of the 1 million prisoners are men. Probably a good chunk of them are black men. Now you got to think for a second here. America, and I'm talking about the states, as a country or as an establishment, I don't like calling it a country, as an establishment, has one of the smallest populations as far as a people, as a collective group of people in the world, has one of the smallest populations. But their prison population is exceedingly higher than those of other nations that have a collective population of millions of people. Now you got to question yourself, how does that work? It's all greed. It's an industry. The private prison industrial complex is very, very real. And the only way that they can make money is because they have to keep those prisons open. You got a question, why are there more prisons than schools? I know Sunny, and I saw the pictures and the videos, and it was just so sad and pathetic to look at. I talked about that in a video last night. But that's all it is. It's a money grab. They need that money. They need to keep that money flowing. Like I said, the prison system is definitely very, very high here, and they need to keep them filled. But what I find to be interesting is on the women's side, it's mostly white women that's in prison, opposed to any other group of white women as far as race goes. They also wanted me to talk about someone named Vincent Simmons and Ronnie Long, and they're both currently in prison for a rape that they did not commit. So they were sentenced to pretty much both 40 years each, but in two different states. One was in Louisiana and one was in North Carolina. I briefly looked up their names last night before I decided to talk about it on here. And I say again, they need to keep the prisons filled. And we know how easy it is to convict a black man of rape, even though they didn't do it. Now, when I looked up the names, these are cases from years ago, way before Me Too was even a thing. I think one was back in 2008. So we're talking 10 years ago. And what they do is they'll keep them in prison for that long time, probably hoping that they die in there. And when they realize that they can't keep them anymore, they let them out, they give them a settlement, and then they just go away. Meanwhile, you got Brock Turner, who only got sentenced to 3 months in jail for raping a woman who was intoxicated behind a dumpster. And his dad gonna come out of his mouth and say, I don't want my son's life to be ruined because of 20 minutes of pleasure. That quote, that him saying that will never go away to me. At that point, they should have investigated the dad, because that is clear that his dad condones rape and sexual assault. And then that judge, Aaron Persky, good thing he's not on the bench anymore. He was the one that went along with it. I don't know what race the victims were, Lamel. And then Brock Turner tried to turn around and say that he's trying to get that charge expunged from his record, but the people was like, nope, it's gonna stick. And see, and the thing is, I think because it's now in this era of this Me Too thing, they're not going to remove it. And it happened before Me Too kicked off, like as far as them hijacking it anyway. But now that it's in the middle of it, they said the note that's gonna stay with him. So that's gonna make it hard for him to find employment, because they're not gonna hire anybody who has that on their record. But that's fine, because it looked like he came from a well-off financial family. So, I guess he could just live off of mommy and daddy for the rest of his life. Okay, this is an interesting topic that one of um my subscribers had gave to me. They said the importance of having life insurance on yourself and your children. They said if I see one more GoFundMe to help a person with funeral costs, I'm going to go loco. Also, if I may, what's better between a burial and a cremation? Well, let me start off with the first part. I'm not an expert when it comes to the whole thing, with insurance policies and everything like that. But I would say definitely have something in set in stone just in case something happens, because I see a lot of people do try to, go the GoFundMe route and have people donate, but that lets you know that they probably didn't have their affairs in order. But make sure that you're going through the right channels and the right people and someone you can trust with this, and not someone who's going to swindle you, because you got to put money into them insurance policies, them life insurance policies. It's not something that they just put on a piece of paper and boom, here's your money when the person dies. You're right, Vic, to save. Don't spend so much, and learn the difference between liabilities and assets. Get more assets rather than liabilities, if that makes sense. And when it comes to cremation versus burial, I would say I think cremation is probably cheaper rather than a burial, because cremation, all you're doing is you're just essentially cremating the body, and they'll give you the ashes. You can do with whatever you want with those ashes. When it comes to a burial, that usually comes along with a funeral, which costs money. Then you have to have a mortician, examine the body, and a person who works at the morgue and everything like that to put the body, together. I've heard morticians who decorate the body, they get paid thousands of dollars per body, and if they get a celebrity, that's like a bonus for them. That costs. Then you gotta talk, have a groundskeeper, like the person who like watches over the graves and whatnot, dig all of that up and bury somebody. And then on top of this, what if the body has to be exhumed for an investigation? That'll probably cost more money, because investigations cost money. But it really all depends on you, and I would say in the financial situation that you are in. But they also went on to say, they said their cousin owns a funeral home. Well, that's even better, because then you can get a family discount. But then it also depends on what the person wanted, the one who died. Because if they left in their will that they wanted to be cremated, you have to honor that. Like, if I said I wanted to be cremated, I would hate that, my family didn't honor my wishes and didn't cremate me. Or if I, wanted to be buried traditionally and they decided to cremate me, they didn't honor my wishes. But it all depends on what the person wants to. So you got to think of cost and also the wishes of the person, of the deceased. Marcella said, "What about donating your body to science?" Well, I would say if your body was in like good condition and there was a reason they needed it or something like that, but you got to be careful with that too, because it's like, I don't know. That sounds almost like, could that be? Could they want you for your organs or whatnot? Are they? What are they trying to do with that? Okay, one of my another comment, one of the people left under the tab is, they said illegal immigrants coming to the states demanding homes, health insurance, and jobs. Yeah, that's an issue, because see, that will directly start to affect us, and I think they were probably alluding to the whole caravan thing that is going on with the immigrants on the border. I think that's probably what they were alluding to, but they didn't say it. I'm assuming that's what they were talking about. But yeah, that is an issue, because it's like they can come over here and get any type of job they want, as long as they probably do a couple of things, and boom, they got it. While us, we've been here for years, and most of us were born here, have to jump through hoops and over hurdles in order to get a decent paying job. while they can go out and get loans to start businesses and then plant those businesses in our community. Right, Vic, the construction jobs. You see a lot of Mexicans working in construction. And see, the thing is, a lot of them will work for dirt cheap too, so that also works in their favor. Whereas us, we're not going to work for like pennies a day. A lot of us want to work what we feel that we are worth. And not even just the Mexican immigrants, but immigrants, period. When they come over, they get a lot of set asides. But they automatically like to think that black people in particular, especially in the States, are lazy. It's like, no, it's because a lot of these jobs are being snatched from right in front of us and given to a lot of these immigrants. Believe it or not, a lot of black people do want to work, or they do like working. It's not the fact that they don't want to work and they're lazy. That's a myth that mainstream media puts out there about us, along with a lot of other stereotypes. Oh, I don't have any doubt, Lamella, that they practice group economics. A lot of them will put themselves together all in one spot and support each other that way. What I do think is interestingly funny enough, though, is that a lot of those Mexican workers who might maybe work on like the farms and stuff that are owned by white people is a lot of conservative white people that want to send them back across the border or have them deported. I'm like, okay, you can deport them. Now, who's going to tend to your farm and your crops? Because you're not going to do it because you don't know how to. You just own the farm. You never really worked on it. You probably walked a few rows or something and looked at it. You may have thrown a drop of water somewhere here and there, and that's about it. But you never actually worked on the farm. You never really worked with your hands on the farm. Because I saw it was an article I think Lisa had did a couple months ago where she was talking about how these immigrant workers, they said they want them deported, but now these white people looking stuck and don't know what to do. But we're supposed to believe they built this establishment? Okay, then. Exactly, Victor. And I always say, and it's something I always say, black people are the trendsetters of the world. Every trend begins and will end with us. Like, if the most staunch racist white person closed their eyes and imagined a world without black people, they probably wouldn't be able to thrive past maybe 3 days. Because who would they talk about? Who could they talk about? That's just like when a lot of people say, or it was a stereotype that Asians are very intelligent or very smart. Well, over the years, I used to believe that, but then over the years, recently, I've heard from other people and said they are not that intelligent, or then a lot of them aren't that smart. There's like dumb and slow functioning people in all backgrounds. I think I pretty much covered all of the topics I was going to talk about today. The other ones I was going to talk about, I'm going to save those and do those in the pre-recorded videos, and I'll probably talk about that again in the show in the live stream next week. I didn't want to bring them up here because then I would defeat the purpose of me uploading those videos. They've already started doing that, Kim God, because I don't know if you've heard, but there's an Asian-owned barbershop. I forgot what state and city it's in, and it was a black person. I think they went in there to see if they could apply to work there, and they basically flat out told him no, that you can't work there. But they had black customers in there. I agree, Lamel. Prince, black people have to practice group economics, but one thing that definitely ruined us was integration. We had a functioning system going for us post Reconstruction, but then we gave all of that up to work with our enemy. There's a lot of stuff that we need to learn that unfortunately we would not gain in the public school system. Not that I would expect them to teach that, because I'll be honest, when I was in school, we didn't learn about financials and stuff. We just learned about go to school, get good grades, and get a good graduate and get a good paying job. Hope to get a good paying job. But to be honest, America as an establishment is falling. It's crumbling as an establishment. It's just a matter who's going to be at the very bottom when it crumbles all the way. I mean, way at the bottom. When you say black people need to own banks, they need to completely own the bank outright, which means everything that is touching that bank needs to be black owned. See, a lot of people say black owned bank, black owned bank. The bank may be black owned as far as the CEO who runs it, but behind the scenes, who's really pulling those strings is the question. That's just like people think that Donald Trump is the end all be all as far as him being president, but it's some people higher up that's pulling his strings. All right, y'all. I'm about to get up off here. I think, like I said, I think I covered all of the topics that I was going to talk about today. Been on for almost 3 hours, but I did enjoy coming to speak with y'all for another week on this live stream. As you all know, it's a weekly thing unless I specify otherwise that there's not going to be a show that particular day. But make sure y'all stay tuned because I have some more videos that are going to be available to y'all. Not right after this live stream, but it's probably going to be another 2 more before the day is done. But with that being said, y'all take care of yourself, and I will talk to y'all later in my next video.